ない思い抱えてなんとなく過ごした日々、説明のつかない感情、難しい言葉などいらないと気づいたんだ。茜に染まった過去と今を癒やす手段は修練の炎と心とも、魂を燃やせ尽きない命と共に、奴を道連れに最高のショータイム、この世の終わりが不死の呪い、どちらかが勝利を収める、この炎は消えない。大嫌いだった月も人も少しは許せたかな、恨むことにも飽きたし、たださまようだけの抜け殻には興味がないの、不自然に揺れる森の先へ突き立てた指、豪華に抱かれる準備はいい。魂を燃やせ生きてる証を探そう、私一人では見つけられない、永遠の苦しみも切なの安らぎとなれ、胸を焦がすこの炎は消えない。魂を燃やせ尽きない命と共に、二人ならきっと分かり合える、聖なる裁きが気まぐれな戯れかはどうでもいいや、魂を燃やせ尽きない命と共に、退屈しのぎに最高のショータイム、この世の終わりが不死の呪い、どちらかが勝利を収める。
Hello and welcome to week 1 of the Omega Strikers Amateur Series, season 11. I am Brandon V2 and I am joined by Kirikan. How you doing, Kirikan?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm ready to watch another season of OSAS.
Yep, and we are gonna get going here just in a little bit with our very first matchup of this season with Chikara Fantasy versus Emotional Core Flippers. Some interesting things going on with these two teams here, but if we kind of looks like we're going to AtLab with a fighter flight and a spec training start. Fighter flight introduced in the patch that dropped today, so interesting to see who picks that up. But something a little bit more interesting with that spec training start. Emotional Core Flippers is made up of some Grand Blue players, and knowers that know, May Jumpy and Prada are two of the Grand Blue coaches who have been coaching some Omega Striker players in Grand Blue, and we're gonna see kind of the shoe on the other foot, so to say, and kind of see if they've been picking anything up from their Grand Blue trainees.
Yeah, and May Jumpy in particular, she's been playing a lot of norms with Liari and Nampase, two of their own students, I guess, in spec training. So we're gonna see how that pairs up against well, not Chikara Eclipse, but Chikara Fantasy. Do you know anything about that team?
Not too much specifically. I have run into 70 Pirates a few times queuing norms and Displacer Cat. I run in houses a few times. Again, also showed up a couple of my comp games. Pretty solid players, I think, especially in that diamond ranking. But it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of play together and kind of their chemistry going into this. And then they have Gilbertito in the goal box. I don't know much about them. I don't think I've come across them either.
I think I've seen him like once or twice in the norms queue, and I think he's solid. I think like he has like a lot of potential. He does pretty good with like clearing it in like certain angles, I guess.
Okay, and as it looks like we are getting started here, again, going into AtLab, interesting to see what characters are picking up. We are seeing Displacer Cat hovering that now with 70 Pirates on the Zentaro and Gilbertito trying to pick up that Atlas here. And looking at the starting awakening, Fight or Flight, historically, pretty good awakening, but with the recent patch, they did kind of nerf it a bit. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see not only how that kind of affects if people are still going for fight or flight, or how they adapt to a lot of these this new update that just dropped today.
Yeah, I've played like 1 to 2 games before getting here, and Fight or Flight is still a very good awakening. The fact that you get speed every time, it just makes it a lot easier for you to not get KO'd, and also since there are a lot of changes coming out with a lot of the new the characters in general, they have like a decent amount of good changes. So Fight or Flight actually kind of just reduces the fact that you get KO'd, kind of like you get KO'd less, but also it becomes a lot easier for you to put yourself in like a kind of bad spot because you're not used to the speed.
Yep, it's basically just better slick kicks in some extent, but we are seeing a triple midfield comp coming out of Emotional Core Flippers with kind of the Juno and the Kai and Estelle, a Strike Shot Estelle in their goal box, but it does look like everyone goes fight or flight, so still strong awakening, but kind of see how some of this plays out. And unfortunately, 2 barriers getting taken out fairly early on the side of Emotional Core Flippers here.
Yeah, they're still fighting for that 1 barrier, but that Alice seems like a tough nut to crack as May Jumpy does clear it out to the top side, and they're actually fighting pretty well here, but that Juno slide might be kind of on the wrong team there, kind of just stalling out the core and letting 70 Pirates strike that right in.
Yeah, and showing at least a pretty good understanding of at least the mechanics of the game, but kind of going into a now Zentaro comp. It's gonna be interesting to see if Emotional Core Flippers can really like adapt to picking up how to play around these two different characters. Zentaro with his dash range and picking up the flip and getting a nice quick second goal up. But then also the now just dropping those primaries and dealing with the secondaries. Just seeing how can they adapt, and can Emotional Core Flippers really find an offensive push here?
Yeah, one barrier going down already, but that corner offense though, even though it was stuck in the middle for a little bit, you still can't neglect the fact that they had to fight for that second barrier. It was pretty good. As Gibertito accidentally burns to flip, their Pradazor might be too much to handle, but unfortunately they're able to clear it out and keep the core on basically on Mage Jumpy side of the field as they're trying to clear it out right now.
Yeah, and Mage Jumpy doing a pretty solid job defending this one barrier. Just with these 2 barrier matches, I think something like AtLab where you have these smaller barriers. The second one's really optional. Just kind of pick your favorite. But Chikara Fantasy does take that final barrier, but a flip out of Mage Jumpy does send the core across the map and does find a barrier, and a beautiful blink does catch the save, and now they finally have an offensive push going with Prada up here with the core flip, does find that last barrier, and the goal is now open on the side of Chikara Fantasy.
Yeah, but the core is still on the core is still on Emotional Flipper's side as they're trying to desperately get it in, but so far the power of Nawa and Zentara are able to just completely snuff out Mage Jumpy and that clear as well, meaning that they take a first set very early and 70 Pirates. The Zentara, let's see what he has to pick.
Yeah. Seen a couple good awakenings here, but for the Zentara, my eyes, immediately go to that heavy impact. Also takes away from the Estelle, who can scale into some heavy damage with that awakening pick.
Yeah, and Estelle on the glass cannon, pretty solid. The fact that she hasn't been really getting hits done a lot, and this entire heavy impact could be a good counter to what they're playing out so far because they have done some damage. I don't think I've seen a KO come out just yet, but they're still doing a heavy amount of damage because Atlas. Well, the Atlas Orb at least has been popped with a lot of times with a lot of people inside of it. So maybe they can probably capitalize off of the damage that's been being thrown around so far.
Yeah. I think that, the biggest pickup there was definitely the heavy impact on the Zentaro, just really getting that damage out. But Senpai Spider picking up that stagger swagger on the Kai character. Kai, kind of a squishy character, low stagger, and has been kind of getting damage down quite a bit just from the black hole and really just buildy. So that stagger swagger may come into play and kind of help them in the speed department and kind of catch up to the core a little bit quicker.
Yeah, but 70 Pirates, 1v3ing all of them, taking out both barriers from Emotional Core Flippers, and also visiting the Kai as well. Kai is on 25% stagger, almost basically about to be staggered, at least now staggered, as 70 Pirates wins a couple of strike wars and sends it right through Mage Jumpy and Prada there. Good work by the Zentaro.
Yeah, like 70 Pirates, really smelling the blood in the water with that Kai. Just hitting those abilities, you got that heavy impact, that additional damage output on most of your kit, and wasn't able to get staggered, but also kind of understanding when the core is in a favorable position to score and does find to make that point. And unfortunately, Mage Jumpy just not able to win that strike war with Displacer Cat and able to get a quick second point up on the board for Chikara Fantasy.
Yeah, the strikes weren't there just yet, and Energy Department also not really there yet. Senpai Spider not really having anything to do, and that was also unfortunate too. Good timing by both Displacer Cats and Pirates there to find it, and also find the nice corner as well, bringing another set up to their name.
Yeah, and Emotional Core Flippers with these triple midfield, a lot of mobility on the side of Emotional Core Flippers, but it just seems they're just not able to get into an offensive position quick enough, and just really allowing Chikara Fantasy to keep the core on their side, and just they're really struggling to get the core out and to keep possession of it.
Yeah, now also pick up the Monumentalist here. Very scary awakening, especially since we have seen that Kai get basically mercilessly thrown around over and over again. Maybe this will add to the damage, and maybe they don't even need it. They've already been winning the core. They've been winning the core control so far.
Yeah, but Kai with that spec training, if they can catch like a good Giga, Kai's ult there can do a lot of damage, and a little close to the edge could find a pretty cheeky KO and really get a power play going in for the side of Emotional Core Flippers.
Yeah, but like 70 Pirates trying to hunt for that Kai, and Kai unfortunately gets out of stagger. Now 70 Pirates looking a little bit low on health so far, and as both teams do pick up a Baron themselves, it looks like it's collapsing on Emotional Core Flippers, but thankfully they get it out in time. Yeah,
and like you said, 70 Pirates able to get healed all the way up, but now the defense kind of on the side of Chikara Fantasy, kind of getting put to the test here. And Emotional Core Flips finally gets that offensive pressure going and is able to get a point up on the board with Prada just sending it right between Gilbertito and Displacer Cat there.
Thankfully so. I think that's what they need to start their offense going. If they learn how to score it once, they could probably do it over and over again. But that double barrier isn't what you want to see. As 70 Pirates also flips it and sends it right past everyone. A 7-second point. Very quick to equalize.
Yeah, very quick. Nice find on that double barrier. And when you have that core flip up on the Zentaro, great way to keep possession. And yeah, really just kind of force the defense of Emotional Core Flippers to react to that high-speed core speed.
Of course, be a little bit too much, but now Prada up for grabs right now, has the flip up and also has a lot of pressure as they're trying to look to take another barrier here. The Juno Slime trying to do all the work right now, but they're getting stuffed out almost. Like, it only seems like one person is working on the offense. It just seems very hard to get it through. 70 Pirates takes the second barrier as well.
Yeah, Prada doing a good job on the offense here, but it seems like Senpai Spider, when they are on the offense, is trying to like cover that bottom clear rather than collapsing in and helping the pressure, which, yeah, kind of good. Kind of keeps Chikara Fantasy from like clearing it away, but yeah, they're just not able to keep that position into a goalie like Atlas here, who can just do such a good job just defending one goalie from a single striker.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I say that, Chikara Fantasy puts off an amazing quick offense on that final point there and is able to take up the first win of this season of OSAS.
Yeah, what a very fast way to kick it off, especially Displacer Cat and 70 Pirates working together. It's going to be a very, very interesting team to look forward to. But on the other side, though, they scored 1 goal. I'm very happy to see that.
Honestly, yeah, for players that I'm not sure when they started. I think maybe like 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, doing have picked up quite a bit, and at least May Jumpy seemed pretty comfortable on the defensive side. I want to see them continue on in OSAS and kind of see how they develop and how quickly they can pick up some of this and maybe reach out to the resources on their some of their trainees over in spec training and maybe get some tips and come back again.
Well, I definitely hope they sure do come back because honestly, I mean, just watching them, it feels so nice to have new players come to the game, you know?
Yep. And maybe if they get a bit more comfortable with the damage comp, they'll feel a little bit more at home with their other game. But with that being said, we are going to head out and take a quick little break as we get set up for our second match tonight. Hello and welcome back to our second matchup with Lag and Laggers versus We Don't Have a Name. And Kirikin, can you tell us anything about, I guess, either of these two teams as we go into this?
Oh boy, do I have a lore dump for you. So currently this roster for Lag and Laggers is Chocobo Yao, Snowy Halo, and Cairo the Gamble, Kairoster, who is also the artist for some of the best in slot merch. Go check that out. So initially Suplex and Kairoster were on a team in season 8. They were, I think, on Xbox Clipped Out with Karasu and Sukana. Currently, Karasu is part of Lag and Laggers roster as a sub right now, but he's a pretty good goalie. And the main thing is that when they were playing, the initial roster before Kairoster was Suplex on midfield and Sukana on brawler. And when I kind of interrupted them and said that Sukana should be main brawler and they should find a new midfield because Suplex wasn't doing a little bit too well, they switched to Kairoster. And then in season 9, they made the very long name that shall not be said. And after that, in OSAS 10, Suplex went in and got revenge by joining Fallen Stars.
So a lot of intermixed history with some of these players.
Yeah.
Across a couple different tournaments.
Yeah, definitely so. And he also played in the Chikara tourney, not a Chikara tourney, with I think it was AJ Cannon and I think Snowing Halo. Snowing Halo being the midfielder now. But Chocobo Yao though, I played with him before. It was in season 8 with Blink Blink Blink.
Yep, and I've seen Chocobo Yao a few times in solo queue comp matches. Pretty good goalie. Able to find some good clears. I don't think I really know them too much on this Estelle goalie here, but on a map like Autumn City right here, going to be very interesting to see if they can keep that core away from the X that is really just lying in wait with Gale Wisp right here.
And so far they're doing pretty well. They're keeping it away, but that Banish coming in, getting Snowy Halo a little bit, it's like slowing the point out a little bit, but thankfully they do get it back online and currently they have it under control so far. Speaking about the Chocobo Yao Estelle, he has played it a lot of times. He actually made a YouTube video about it, I think, a little bit ago. But the main thing is that Cairo the Gambo, though, getting that great checkmate at the some guy and getting that first point right there for Lag and Laggers.
Yeah, just a beautiful job getting to that corner and well-timed, well-spaced with that Rasmus primary and able to get the hit stun and force that core through. We didn't talk too much about the awakenings here with Spark of Resilience pick up on everyone except for Gale Wisp picking up the specialized training on their X there. Going to be kind of interesting to see if they can find that damage on that X on a map that is really just known for all the healing orbs.
Man, I love me some orbs, and especially with the orb replicator buffs. 100%, 110% of the effect that you collect from an orb transfer to your teammate. That's pretty cool, I think. If you get enough of those, you can basically build up a core flip insanely fast.
Yeah, might be interesting to see if that comes up in one of these Awakening drafts, if anyone picks it up, since it is out in City. But right now, we don't have a name, kind of struggling to find that offensive pressure. Just Gale Wisp not able to get the core with Chocoboya on this Estelle, just kind of keeping it away, really, with all these projectiles and all these range defenses.
Might have a chance right now. Easy actually goes for the flip, though. Thankfully, Chocoboya does clear with Chronotic there as well as they try to set up for the score here. That double ban, well, single ban is actually coming out now with a flip now. Flip being burnt on the defensive side. And now it's back to almost even so far. Overtime coming up in 20 seconds. But so far, the passing lanes have been really, really open. And Snowy Halo's been finding a lot of these great passes to Kyrie, which have been setting him up so far.
Yeah, we don't have a name, kind of interesting comp here. The Kai goalie can do really good, especially if you have a confident Kai that can push up and really help with those offensive plays. But the Rune midfield on an open map, such as on City here, not a lot of mobility unless you're just very hyper aware of where your teleport point is. Really just means that X is going to struggle to really find the core, as we see right here. Lagging Laggers just putting up a 3-0 in this first set.
Yeah, very fast one, even checking into overtime a little bit, but we should be looking at the Awakenings here too. Everyone going Spark means that there's a Spark up for grabs, which Rasmus will definitely take here.
Yeah, and with everyone on Spark, it's going to be a fight. Whoever gets that first draft pick does get it picked up. But we do have that twin drive on the Kai, being able to use that speed, maybe hopefully get that coverage once on that giant barrier that is on City has, or even once it goes down, just covering that open goal. And really, we don't have a name, really needs to find a way to turn this offensive around, because right now they just don't have a way to get the core to Gale quick enough in order to really make anything happen. As we see from Lagging Laggers, who has these passing plays and just this coverage with Rasmus's speed, Imy's blink, just so much coverage in the midfield, and able to put up a quick first point in the second set.
Yeah, and that first point really means something, as Chocoboya has a lot of range even, just that Crystal Thorns having so much effect over the map. You can just easily just throw out a strike and then instantly just Crystal Thorns, and it's probably gonna put a lot of pressure so far, as you also find another barrier as well, that big barrier not being too much of a great gamble for the Kai though. But Gale was taking up the corner with Hypnotic though. Fortunately, it is cleared out, but that corner looks scary, especially since they're going Stinger here. That damage could potentially add up, and maybe that's what they're going to be doing if they want to try to out-maneuver the Lagging Laggers. But so far, the Lagging Laggers are doing too much of a great performance to even think about it.
Yeah, and I think just with Gale on this X pick on such an open map, going into Erasmus and Imy and Estelle, just three characters that just have really good coverage with projectiles and speed and range, and Cairo on that Erasmus finding a KO on the goalie, and Gale Wisp still staying up front, just kind of wanting to be that striker, that forward pressure, but they can't do much if the core just does not get to them.
Indeed so, and Rasmus also being another MVP yet again. He has also a lot of size awakenings to also pick up as well, meaning that this Rasmus will be having a lot of pressure on this map, especially against a Kai too. Even though Kai's been picking second, it just seems like he doesn't really have a lot to pick here, opting for the aerials to deny from the Estelle, who potentially could be using it to maybe push up or even have a little bit more extra range.
Yeah, and if there is a silver lining in this draft here for We Don't Have a Name, is that there is no Spark pick, so Rasmus doesn't get a third Spark here. And Ariel's a good pick up on Kai, more projectile range, more speed, but it's not gonna really come into play if they can't give some guy on the Kai there some distance between them and the core.
Yeah, Vanish doing a lot of work here as Cairo has been taken to half health very quickly, but he has Sparks though. 2 Sparks is keeping him alive for the time being as he does pick up an orb and sets up for the corner offense here. Does get the barrier too and also puts some guy in a really tough bind of that rune pillar not working to his ability.
Yeah, just a Crypnotic just not be able to get that rune pillar up against the wall, and that cast last in Siege Machine just allowing the pillar to last longer and kind of really putting that some guy into a tough spot once that core does get through that gap.
Yeah, very flashy barrier take as well as also the strike as well. Cairo doing everything in his power to make sure that this game comes to a close really quickly as we're already set up on match point.
Yeah, and it really seems like it's coming down to Lag and Lagger just has such a strong comp for something like this, for a map like this that's so open. They have so much coverage with their speed, their blinks, their projectiles, and they're just working so well as a unit. In contrast, where we don't have a name, each player is just trying to play their own position. Kai's trying to play the goalie. Crypnotic is just trying to play the midfield on the rune. Gale is just trying to play the forward brawler on the X here. But the teamwork, the coordination, and just the good comp and good drafting out of Lag and Laggers does pick up that final point in the final set here.
Yeah, very fast. All 3 sets have been really fast so far, and that shows how competent this team is, ready to make a mark so far. First game, second game at least, even quicker than the last one, clocking in at a record 7 minutes and 51 seconds. Has this been the fastest game so far? Well, one OSAS at least.
I mean, if not, it's got to be a contender. I can't imagine. But it's, yeah, just a lot of. This is the first week of a new season of OSAS. We're getting a lot of, I don't necessarily want to say established players, but regular players that have been with the game for quite some time, kind of know the mechanics. But we're also getting some new players, not so much new to the game, but new to competitive Among Us strikers, and kind of the difference between when you're queuing up norms or comp, when you're playing it with an organized team with this tournament structure, and kind of how each team can take advantage of that.
Indeed so, and that marks game, well, at least Swiss round number 2 done so far. We'll be back with Swiss round 3, where 1-on-1 teams do collide on the night market, a very fun map. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere.
煮え切らない思い抱えてなんとなく過ごした日々説明のつかない感情難しい言葉などいらないと気づいたんだ茜に染まった過去と今を癒さしたは修練の炎と心とも魂を燃やせ尽きない命と共に奴を道連れに最高のシャワータイムこの世の終わりが不死の呪いどちらかが勝利を収めるこの炎は消えない大嫌いだった月も人も少しは許せたから恨むことにも飽きたしたださまようだけの抜け殻には興味がないの不自然に揺れる森の先へ突き出
Hello and welcome back to our third match of OSAS and our final round of Swiss. 1-1, throwing hard or hardly throwing versus 1-1, hooked on Goth Cats. So whoever wins this gets to go on to the bracket stage. Kirkin, how you feeling about this going into Night Market with a Sparker Resilience and a Siege Machine startup here?
To be mean, I would say this is the most boring start of all time, but to be nice, I like the start because it has Siege Machine in it. I am a very huge Siege Machine fan. I don't know why.
I mean, depending on the characters you play, Siege Machine can really come into play. But I'd imagine most, in this case, picking up Spark Resilience just because spark scaling can get out of hand really quick. And you want to be able to contest those sparks. But with a now on the side of throwing hard or hardly throwing, Siege Machine also pretty viable. But I am very expecting, especially with these comps here, at least 4, if not all 6 Spark Resilience pickups.
Yeah, and also I just realized they gave Sand Deity their most, well, at least I know them as a good Julie player, I think, since they do play a lot of Florida, and I kind of midfielded for them in scrims. So interesting that they gave the Julie the pick, even, and also Julie being a very, very good character to play on this map because it's like very easy to DP on a very close map so far.
Yeah, and go ahead and color me wrong. We have 2 sparks, both on the brawlers. Everyone else taking Siege Machine. Both on the midfield and the goalies can take advantage of those projectiles and the creation side of things. But we do see throwing hard, hardly throwing with an open goal pretty early on, and Feeding Kappa trying to walk that core in there, but getting through Mako, not an easy task, 1 by 1, except when X has that bell ringer and is able to dribble and time it and send it to that top pocket and get that first point on the board for Hooked on Goth Cats.
Yeah, Hooked on Goth Cats also running the Era X meta, as well as running both Maxos too. I thought we would be seeing an end to it like 2 patches ago, but I guess not, and also it's very, very strong since they're very easily able to walk up on either side of the map, and there we go, even taking that first barrier in the process as well.
Yeah, just kind of like, for the most part, a pretty easy comp to understand and pull off well. Era with that speed, the speed, especially on Night Market with the Maelstrom covering a lane, can really help X control the midfield and really just supporting that X once they get the core over, or once they start scaling and picking up some damage, finding some of these KOs. They are kind of missing the one piece of that classic comp with a Mako goalie, Gramster taking the Mako in this case, but Asher in the goal box, still a pretty good pick, pretty solid and pretty much able to lock it down there.
Yeah, and that X doing a lot of the work there, even though this is a very traditional scaling comp. X is busting it right out the gate, also will flip up for grabs as well, taking that second point for Hooked on Goth Cats, and looking very strong so far. 2 people with a flip up, Imperfections using that flip early, I think, on the offense to keep the core up for Feeding Kappa to score it in, and they're also getting really close. They're also securing a very, very quick first barrier.
Yeah, Feeding Kappa and Several Lindis, both with flip. Feeding Kappa does use their flip, try to get that second barrier, does not quite find it, but unfortunately Imperfection's just not able to get to the top quick enough, and Asher, kind of a notoriously slow character, Lindis not able to reach that either, and loses that first barrier. And now it's a 1-1 barrier as Feeding Kappa tries to get it through, but Gramster with a nice evade strike is able to get it sent down. But Hooked on Goth Cats really having a lot of offensive pressure here, and as I'm saying that, Feeding Kappa just punching Z's and really still can't find his last barrier.
Yeah, thankfully they do fall, and so far the Asher Several Lindis popping up as well, putting into that corner offense, but it's neutralized by Sand Deity as well, evening out to a 2v2 position now as ZZZ does come back online, proccing the helmets on Sand Deity. He's able to get the second barrier as well. And there we go, the offense has been lifted. It seemed like for the first 2 points they couldn't get it done because of how slow it seemed like their offense was going, but they were able to explosively kick off that first point for them.
Yeah, and Sand Deity really finding kind of how to break this comp apart, where you have that X on the forward and the Era in the midfield, just a lot of speed, good coverage, but if you can KO that Era, X not really the fastest character. Going to take some time to come down and really help Asher in that goal box, giving Throwing Hard a good amount of time where they can just 2v1 this goalie if they can find a KO on that midfield.
Unfortunate strike there for Grandmaster, as unfortunately that first barrier does fall, but thankfully they do have to flip the second barrier as well. But Imperfections is right there, catching the flip, catching the clear, and now it is an open barrier situation for Grandmaster as he's facing Gus's Feeding Kappa with a flip as well to boot, as he sends it right past him, as Goklan Golfcats takes the first set on this night market.
Yeah, Imperfection's doing a great job in the midfield. Whenever a flip came out, whether it was Grahamster flip for defensively or Feeding Kappa defending offensively, fell back to the mid and just set next to that speed gate, knowing that once they get that speed booster, is able to react and catch wherever the core may end up going. But in this first draft, Feeding Kappa were the first pickup with a spark, getting 2 sparks on the board here.
Yeah, but unfortunate for them, all 3 sparks have come on, and now the X doesn't really have much of scale with the sparks as well. Sandeity also getting a piece of that spark, taking the spark of agility, helping out with the offense a little bit by getting a little bit more speed to counter the Air, who has a lot of speed to her name at least. And Grandmaster also pick up the Flutter Flight. Pretty good as defensively it actually helps a little bit if you're getting completely destroyed by X, but so far it seems to be the opposite case as Imperfections does fall off the gridiron, and now it's a 2v3 power play for, at least on the opposite side for Goklan Golfcats.
Yeah, but Feeding Kappa able to really hold that core in the center and really support Lindis on that Asher, and able to help defend this this power play enough for Imperfections to come back up, and now hardly throwing now thrown on the defense now that Hooked on Golfcats are back at full potential, and Asher almost getting caught off guard with that now primary, but luckily Imperfections does come back and is able to get it just in time before the core goes in.
Yeah, Sever Lindis also with a flip on board too, means that Sandeity has to push through a very, very tough nut to crack, especially since we hit overtime now, and that core is going to be really fast, Feeding Kappa winning an interaction versus Gramster. And now Gramster is all over the place. Thankfully, the core doesn't go in right away, but the flip also comes in too. The core is going red, and so far, Sandeity is the one to capitalize on it, sending it to the top side and pick up that first point for throwing harder, hardly throwing.
Yeah, Golfcats putting on a great offensive pressure here, but Grandmaster just doing such a good job holding it down and really finding ways around this X or through the X. Is just really becoming a wall that Hooked on Golfcats really needs to get through. But as soon as Sandeity can find the KO or find some kind of offensive pressure, it seems like they can usually do something to get through this Asher. But this offensive pressure is just starting to come online for Golfcats, and it can only scale harder from here. And it's really going to be throwing harder, hardly throwing, finding a way to neutralize this.
Yeah, they've already kind of neutralized with the, well, at least they've gotten a bit of advantage with the barrier take, as also with the energy awakenings, as well as one falls, and Sandeity also gets the kill as well, finds the second one as well, finds the second barrier as well as using the second flip as well. Means that Gramster and ZZ and Sandeity have to fight through an X and an Asher though, with all the abilities up to their nave, as Imperfections does come back online thankfully, and hopefully tries to kickstart this offense yet again.
Yeah, and as we were able to see there, Sandeity finding that KO on Imperfections, this era really kind of being a linchpin, because without it, it's just 2 really slow characters that with a now and especially a Spark of Agility boosted Julie are able to just pass around, dribble around, and get the core moving. And once they are able to get both those barriers down, just like that, Sandeity is able to get the core through and hopefully get on set point and take the first set for throwing hard.
They should take this first set very quickly, because you don't know what could come into this draft if they need it or not. That Monumental is still up for ZZ's, and he could probably use it even with the fact that he's getting a lot of these touches onto the core, but the person that's getting the most touches onto a player is Sandeity, finding another kill onto the goalie this time, as Imperfections and Feeding Kappa are looking to try to keep this barrier alive, and so far it's working. It holds, and the Asher is back online now. The defensive power is coming back online as ZZ and Sandeity have to fight through this defense yet again.
Yeah, Imperfection's doing a great job kind of being that backup goalie and waiting at the strikes, the clears, and able to save that barrier in time for Lindis to come back up. And as we see again, once all 3 members of Golfcats are online, they have just they have just so much pressure, speed, size to move this core forward and get that offensive pressure going. And just like that is now a 0.5 in the second set here.
Yeah, 0.5 so far, and as well as the energy on feeding Kappa's side here as he possibly could be looking to use this flip on the offense here, maybe taking a bear in the process, but he doesn't need it for the first one, but he might need it for a second one though, as he's locked up by the Mako baby cage. And now Imperfections also with a flip built up as well. They could probably use this for a very big push for Sunday. He also using the flip trying to take Imperfections out, but it's not working. There's a second flip on, and there we go, another set for Hooked on Golfcast as they find another one.
And Grahamster doing a wonderful job, like striking out X's flip there, but just unfortunately for them, there's Imperfections with that era able to flip and just send it to that bottom pocket. And again, X showing up on the front of this draft, kind of showing how much time they've been able to spend offensively here.
Yeah, and the scaling is going to get even worse from here. X taking 1-2 punch, adding to the extra damage he's been fighting so far, as well as the era, as well as taking Mighty Colossus, maybe top of the Strike Wars.
Yeah, that Mighty Colossus pickup could be also a deny from the Mako, but Mako sitting pretty comfortably with that heavy impact. But that stacks on Julie. Once they kind of get that built up, if they can survive long enough, get that 150 stacks and keep those stacks up, that Julie's gonna be flying around and just have way more map presence than they've already had this game so far. But again, that just means Sandidi can close the distance and find these kick punch KOs that they're looking for this entire match.
Yeah, and a great reaction strike by Feeding Kappa does take that second barrier away from Gramster, leaving him in a very, very vulnerable open barrier situation as the offense is just constantly collapsing onto him. Gramster not being able to find the clear sets up Feeding Kappa for yet another point.
Yeah, Sandidi, I think, is kind of aware, kind of what we've been talking about, where getting rid of that midfield, kind of breaking that goalie to midfield, the forward connection is kind of their win condition here, and Imperfections realizing that as well and playing incredibly cautious around these edges and really hyper focused on where this Julie is, where this Julie's hunting, and kind of where their kill range is.
Yeah, and clearly map presence so far it seems to be in big favor of Hooked on Golfcast as they've been defending everything Sanday is throwing at him, not really having enough time to set up the offense correctly, as Gramster also uses the flip to the backside. Gives a right into Kappa, and that sets up for the second barrier as well. Kappa with flip, this is bad for throwing Harley throwing as two flips come out, one KOing and the other scoring their Imperfections with the score. And there we go, match point.
Yeah, Hooked on Golfcast just putting up a beautiful performance with this offensive plays with Imperfection and Kappa just doing a wonderful job striking out the goalie, winning these strike wars. Imperfection doing such a good job controlling this midfield and getting that core, pushing it forward to the point that really Lindis on this goal in the goal box hasn't had to do too much, honestly, which is kind of where you want Asher, so that once she does have to defend, Asher can use that primary, has all their abilities up. And as I'm saying that, core drifts into Kappa, just letting it move forward. And then with a strike, ult resets, does take match point here.
And there we go. They've moved on, slowly walking the core in and walking that game in at least. This is a very, very strong team. Even with the abilities that were dumped onto Gramster, just felt kind of suffocating. At least there weren't really many saves for them, and I guess that's to the great. I guess that was just to the great offensive Imperfections and defeating Kappa.
I mean, sometimes the best defense is just a strong offense. If your forward and midfield can keep the core in the enemy goal box most of the match, your goalie's kind of just sitting good. They have the cooldowns, and yeah, Z's on that now just how to play so defensively that whenever they were able to make the clear, they weren't able to get up quick enough to help Sandidis keep the core on the side of Gothcats. And then yeah, just Lindis on the Asher and Imperfections were able to just get the clears, move the core back forward, get it back to Feeding Kappa, and really just keep Feeding Kappa just so much time offensively to find the barriers and find the goals.
Yeah, and Golfcats summing it up, another sub 15 game for OSAS week 1, season 11, as we are heading into the bracket stage now. We have a lot more very heavily content-packed games coming your way, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back. We are on the bracket side of OSAS 11 week 1, and we are getting a little treat with our very first Chikara team kill of the season with Chikara Chiquitos versus Chikara Clinkers. How are you feeling about this, Kirkin, going into a Tycho map, one of my favorite maps?
Man, I remember when Sarah from Crimson played against Chikara Clinkers on Tycho. That was a really fun experience. I miss those days. But now we have new players now. Shinx, Rico, Polo, and Maseo. I think all three of them were members of ICBM at one point. And they decided to make a team now versus the old it's the old Chikara Clinkers without Captain, yes, but now with I think Blade Swift,
A Swift Deity.
Swift deity. Okay.
Yep, Swift Deity, replacing that, I believe, the midfield pickup with Vic Blade.
Yeah.
Traditionally in the brawler position, and Keone covering the goal box. I assume they're keeping that team comp. But with Chiquitos picking up that Asher for the goal box. Asher very strong on Tycho, defensively or offensively, whatever you position she falls in. Just really good stuffing pressure, really good anti-stuffing pressure in the goal box here, and especially with that big fish and spark of agility start here. Gonna be interesting to see kind of who scales. If Kihone, the sole spark enjoyer, can pick up the other sparks and get that spark Exodia going on that Atlas goalie.
Yeah, and I want to kind of point out a little bit of a lore dump again. Rico Polo and Misael, I remember they are part of ICBM. They also were part of God's Strongest Soldiers back in Season 10 with Katusha. Now they're on a different... Well, Katusha's on the same team that she was on back then, but now she has two different teammates now. But Rico Polo and Misael, two long-time duos. I run into them a decent amount in norms, and they've gotten stronger from last season. I actually wonder how they're going to be playing this so far.
Yeah, and that's one reason I really enjoy this OSAS is just, especially teams that keep coming back, is just kind of seeing them progress. And Chikara Clinker's kind of one of those classics. They've been in OSAS for a couple seasons now, and it seems like every season just getting stronger and stronger. And we're kind of seeing it here, kind of getting reintroduced to this gameplay with a new midfielder trying to make these connections. But a beautiful glitch pop out of Rico Polo does find the core, and Keone just not able to react quick enough to save it. And Chiquitos does get the first point on the board.
I remember coaching Rico Polo on Naimi. I think I was a little bit mad at him for using glitch pop in a bit of a wrong way where he used to just predict it. Now I can actually just see the difference in his glitch pops. It feels a lot more fluid at least, and so far they've been working to their liking at least, as they've been trying to take away and chip away at this Rasmus so far, but that Atlas ult does save them just in time from getting knocked off the map as they start to pick up the offense yet again. Almost a berry going down, but Keone does get the flip in time to save that barrier.
Yeah, and Vic Blade with a beautiful Rasmus primary does catch the core, hit through Shinx's Asher Dash, who I think just a quick button misclick does use use core flip there. But now Chiquitos does find that offensive pressure, and Misael able to get in there and get that last barrier open, and now it's Cajone versus Misael 1v1, and that bell ringer just big enough with that big fish size increase, able to catch the core and put a second point on the board for Chiquitos.
Yeah, Rico Polo also holding on to flip as well. Even the help, saying that he has a flip up for Grams and wants to use it as quickly as possible to bring it up to another point, hopefully, as they're looking to keep it forward onto the top side. One barrier being found for Misael into the corner as Swift Deity tries to clear it, even uses the flip on the defense to keep it up. And now Vic Blade getting out primaried by Shinx there. Shows the prowess of the Asher as the second barrier does follow with a great village pop, and now the cyber turret up for grabs as Rico Polo is looking to use that flip, does opt for it as he sends it to Misael, but Misael does get the gold though, is able to be cleared out just in time, but doesn't even matter. The bell ringer again sending it to the top side.
Yeah, once your Atlas gets KO, that Geno has to fall back, and as many times as they clear it, Chiquitos is just so well set up to get the core, get it back to Rico Polo in the midfield, and get it right back to Misael, and just finding that goal and able to get the first draft on the board with Imi picking up that Super Surge. I'm not much of an Imi player. I do know a lot of Imis really do preference their dash, and really something with Super Surge there. How are you feeling about this?
No, Super Surge is just best pick there to pick up. Juno's last pick as well, so it doesn't really matter whether she it will matter because you don't have to worry about the 1-2 pick on Juno, but Super Surge Imi is very strong. I mean, the fact that you already got 1 KO so far, even without the Imi, it kind of just shows. There we go, another one on the board there. But Imi being able to just have Super Surge and have that extra dash range, plus the amount of damage she could possibly be put on, means that a lot more pressure can come on for the Chikara blue team right now as they're looking to take up that second barrier. The Vic Blade respawning just in time to help clear it out in the process, but so far not looking so good right now, as there's not really a lot of energy on the side, even though Keone did pick up an orb. Is it coming close to core flip though?
Yeah, Keone basically like 1 strike away, 2 strikes away from getting core flip. And there they do get it. Still holding on to that second barrier, just beautifully, just striking away and just going top, going bottom. Not really needing to waste his abilities. Does move all the way up to the midfield. Does pop that Atlas bubble. Does not able to connect and is not able to get back in time to save that last barrier. Kind of getting a little too aggressive there, really trying to help with the scoring attempt, and does kind of get called out for it.
And one flip being burned for Rico Polo, that Marcel actually getting his flip up as well. Burns and trying to kill Swift Daddy, doesn't connect though, as we're now core flipless, but Shinx is about to come up a core flip as well if he can get just a little bit strikes in, but maybe it's not needed as Swift Daddy with the Juno Bobble overtime. Red core send it to the bottom, just past Shinx to secure another point for Chikara Clinkers.
Yeah, with that overtime speed, just Shinx not able to react quick enough, and it was just such a tight corner shot out of Swift Edie there with that core speed. But Shinx does have core flip here, and barriers are resources. Points can be resources if you if you're confident enough. But Keone just not able to hold on to that second barrier there, and kind of running out of resources here, as it is looking up like Chiquitos is taking back this point and really coming back online with this these offensive pushes. And there's that super surge range increase from Ricopoyo, finding that point.
Yeah, right there is a very good usage of the super surge, at least, even though he's not doing damage, at least covering a lot of the things that Misael can't cover. But Keone pushed out very quickly too, using both his abilities to try to keep trying to start the offense up. But it's so far so good, stuffed out by Shinx and Rico Polo there. A little bit of a lag spike means that first barrier does fall, and the corner offense will be solidifying another barrier in the process, as Vicplay is completely dominating Shinx there. The Asher not being able to keep up with Erasmus enough. And now it's on the opposite side now, one barrier being found. It just seems like these barriers are falling piece by piece, as somehow that barrier doesn't fall, the glitch doesn't connect. And there we go, Keone saves it, and basically has a core flip up for grabs as well. Could use it on either side of defense or offense if he pushes up just enough.
Yeah, Swift DD is looking a little low, so Misael does pop that X Maximus, but does not find themselves close enough to Swift DD to find any damage, but does leave that bottom pocket open for Vicplay to send it in and get another point on the board for Clinkers here.
Yeah, Clinkers coming up on set point is very important, especially since they don't really exactly need to scale, but I think it would be nice to scale on this team, especially since you do have an X to either, you still have an X to figure out, and he still does need to scale a little bit more in order to get that full effect. But thankfully they do get the stuffing out of that core flip though, and Vicblade is getting beat up for it. But they aren't able to find the kill though. I think that's one of the main problems so far, is that they do have some kill potential, but they're just not finding it just yet. And so far, they might need it, as one core flip is stuffed out. Misael's core flip in particular being stuffed out. As they're trying to look for this corner, they do get it though. Vicblade, well, not Vicblade, but Keone actually having to burn the flip on the defense as well. But it is paid off.
Yeah, and kind of like what you're saying, Misael just not able to like do enough damage to find the kill, and that's just kind of like one of X's kind of weak points. Yeah, one of his biggest weak point is how slow he is, but he can do a lot of damage. But until he starts scaling, it's kind of difficult for him to find these KOs by himself, and really needs a team that works into this damage comp. Whereas Vicblade on this Erasmus just has so much at his disposal with the death touch, with the whiplash and those primaries. Can just do so much to move the core around or even shove it through Shinx on this Asher.
Yeah, and Shinx having to try to pick up speed as Asher though, not really actually running the pauldrons means that they're actually pretty slow, but they have enough size to boot with that. Also picking up the recovery drone as well, making the strike wars a little bit harder to deal with, as the Rasmus is looking for explosive entry to try to like stabilize the fact that he's probably not going to be fighting against the Asher in terms of pure strike wars. It might be just looking to outspeed her. Yeah,
but I think maybe one of the biggest like subtle pickups there is Keone picking up that Spark of Resilience. Does have Spark of Speed, so it's getting some additional speed out of that, but also picked up Reverb on the previous draft, so that is a double Spark boosted Spark of Resilience, boosting that cooldown reduction for Reverberation. So Keone is going to feel pretty comfortable with their Atlas cooldowns now, and that little bit of extra speed could just kind of help them with coverage, and especially how kind of aggressive they're wanting to be and how much they're wanting to push up and help offensively. I think Keone might actually be the one to scale on Clinkers here to really turn things around. But as I say that, Chikara Chiquitos does find the damage and does find the KO on Swift Deity, now putting Keone and Vicblade on the defense.
Yeah, but so far they are able to stuff it out just in time as Swift 80 does come back online, and Misael is actually finding it really hard to just find anything right now as he's trying to look for Vicblade now. He answered Swift 80 earlier, but right now it's not looking too good right now. He's too busy trying to KO, and it allows Rico Polo to, well, it kind of hinders Rico Polo to at least push the core around when they need to take the barrier right now since it's overtime, and letting overtime go for too long isn't a good thing as finally Rico Polo does find the kill, sets up the power play, and hopefully they can score right here as Misael pops the X Maximus. Doesn't find any value though. He's trying to find something, doesn't really get anything. We're having to also burn a flip in the process, but Misael's also looking really low too. He's basically staggered due to the Juno slimes, and he might fall off the map, but he gets put in the perfect spot to just shove it right into the corner.
Just Misael getting bounced around so much. Keone just was not quite aware of that. Misael got bounced off that bottom corner drum, and Keone unintentionally passed right to them, and they were able to find the point there. That, I mean, that's kind of one of the disadvantages of you get a little too bloodthirsty. You might knock the enemy team into a better position.
Yeah, and so far hasn't been a good thing as they do take the first point at very, very early starts. They also find the first barrier as well. Rico Polo working his Super Surge Aimi magic right now as he's looking to try to capitalize on another one. But they seem to have a little bit of trouble with the Atlas. The Atlas is defending so well, even has a core flip to boot as well. Could be a really big trouble as they head into the corner offense here. But they do find the KO too, meaning another power play is set up. This is another one that they have to look for. They have to keep looking for these in order to at least try to get the core around, as it seems like they aren't doing a good job of it so far, even in this power play.
Yeah, Chiquito's really like starting to scale into this damage, just finding a lot of stagger and a lot finding these KOs. But as I say that, Vicblade does find the stagger and a KO, taking out Misael as the Clinkers try to get an offensive play going, but a flip out of Swift Deity does send it across, and now it's a battle of the midfield trying to get control here.
Yeah, thankfully Misael does cut back online, puts the X back into a really good spot, especially with the size that he has been, well, the size that he started with and to begin with. He also has that spark of strength too to at least help with the damage, and so far it's doing so good. But the second barrier does fall, unfortunately, as Swift 80 does put an end to that reign for a little bit. But this point has been going on for a little bit too long, and when that happens, the core goes reign, it goes really fast, and Vic was able to capitalize and find the bottom corner there, evening it up.
Yeah, and like you kind of mentioned during the draft, Shinx does pick up the size, which Asher loves size, but especially once you hit that overtime core speed, just is gonna start struggling repositioning with without any speed to help them in that scenario.
And what's not going to help them even more is Rico Polo falling off the map, setting up the power play. And it's not looking too good as they find and just lose one barrier, especially even with the Asher to boot though. But Misael finds the counter to it, gets to one, but two, and almost gets the goal as well. If that goal barrier opened up any second earlier, that would have been a goal right there.
Yeah, I respect Keone for making these offensive plays and really like trying to get the point over like quick and really moving up to the midfield line. But sometimes it just does leave you open, especially if you and your midfield just aren't quite on the same page for coverage. But with that being said, Vicblade on that Rasmus, a beautiful death touch, covers the clear, pulls the core in, and able to send it to that bottom pocket where Shinx is just on the other side of the goal box there, has no hope of reaching it.
Yeah, and I think that they just need to capitalize on a lot of these points as quickly as possible, as they do almost find the KO too. Misael punching Vicblade, doesn't find it though, was even covered with the Atlas ult to boot. And he basically is coming off a flip as well. It might be a little bit dangerous, but finally he does fall. Thankfully, Rico Polo finding the kill. And now that's a lot of energy gone, and a lot of displacement going online for them if they actually are able to find the second barrier too. Finding the second barrier would be huge right now if they could win a couple of strike wars. But currently they aren't able to do so. Vicblade coming back all online. The offense basically just being reset right here. Swift Deity trying to push the core forward towards Vicblade. But it's so far being defended really well by both Misael and Shinx in the bottom side.
Yeah, I think we're just into the point of the match where it's each offense, each forward midfield pair just trying to find a way through these defensive. Keone on this Atlas that has this increased speed, but also just insane cooldown reduction because of that Spark Resilience and Reverberation. Where on the other side, you have Shinx with this, what is it now? Triple size boosted Asher with a 1-2 punch. It's a fight to get that last barrier, but both teams now finally finding that last barrier, and it's an open goal on both sides. This is where I think the advantage is on Kihone with the little bit of extra speed on that Atlas able to cover, and Shinx just not able to reposition without any kind of speed help there. Does put Clinkers into that 2-set position.
And even better for him, they have a lot to choose from. Keone winning the MVP, has Timeless Creator, Missile Pop, and Rapid Fire to work with. But instead, also the Spark of Focus, that's the third spark, I think, for Keone, which is very dangerous even.
Yeah, with especially how Keone has been playing, Keone is always going to have abilities at this point. That's Spark of Focus, cooldown reduction, that Spark Resilience, Reverberation, cooldown reduction, but also they're on Mom Boots. They have that Spark of Agility. Keone has everything Atlas wants, cooldowns and speed. So they are going to be able to lock it down. And as much of a wall as they have been and has been able to really have an answer for Misael and Rico Polo are really, I think, going to struggle to find specifically this last barrier. Keone, I don't think, cares about that first barrier. But we do see there, Misael is able to get the core in that bottom pocket and able to open that up. But look how fast Keone is here.
I mean, oh my goodness. 80 just as a base stat for cooldown is just so disgusting even. But Rico Polo not really caring too much, finding the glitch pop to the top, to the middle side with that bounce too, not really caring about the Atlas. But still, that is scary. I mean, I wouldn't really be, we're both brawlers. I don't think we want to go up against an Atlas with that much cooldown.
No, but we do have 2 stacks of Prize Fighter on Misael there. And already finding a lot of KOs, but Clinkers returning the KOs themselves, and Keone, all 3 members on the side of Clinkers is in Chiquito's goal box there, but Keone not able to come back far enough and save that first barrier, but I think they're fine. It's, as an Atlas, really you only care about the 1 barrier, especially Atlas with this much cooldowns, and Shinx just a little too far forward. The core does get past them, and they aren't able to fall back quick enough, and Clinkers finding their first point this set.
Yeah, it's a point that they can't give up. Chikara Chiquitos right here. They have the Asher at 194 base power too. It looks really, really strong. And they can find out the KO as well. 3 Prize Barrier stacks for the X right here. As they look to capitalize again, they have 1 barrier, but they need to find the second one really quickly. At least 1 ability is dumped from the Atlas, but the Atlas Expanse also not coming out too. It's becoming really scary right now as he does pop it in time, but at this point, I think he just has another primary to boot and ready to go. There we go.
Yeah, and honestly, again, like you said, at this point, I believe there's an Atlas bubble waiting and just lying in wait as this core does come around, or even just another primary. And Big Blade, beautiful death touch, pulling Shinx out of position. The core bounces right up and is able to flip and send it in. And now we are on match point for Clinkers here.
Yeah, Clinkers, the 80 cooldown reduction is saving him for the most part, as he's able to just throw whatever he wants onto the map and put on so much damage, put on so much pressure, as the Atlas primary actually does get a Astral Projection doing so much work. Another flip onto boot as well. The Astral Projection again being used. It's been on cooldown for I think like 3 seconds, and Big Blade also finding the Rasmus primary there too. It's just so much to see, so much. Can you handle it all? And apparently not. The Asher not connecting with the secondary, and that's game for Chikara Clinkers. They move on.
Once Keone picked up that 3rd spark, they just said, we don't need a goalie. I am now Atlas midfield. And aside from that first point that set, it was just so much pressure for Chiquitos to try to like fight out. And even when they did, Keone had the speed, they had the cooldown reduction. You can't really like go for the damage because they have all that stagger too. It's just Keone was just such a wall.
Yeah, and Atlas having so much cooldowns. I mean, we've said it so many times, so often, but it just felt impossible to walk through. Keone even noticing that he could just walk up and do whatever he wanted because all of his cooldowns were so close to just coming back online so quickly that Misael and Rico Polo, if they just couldn't mount an offense, then what's the point in needing to play goalie?
Yeah, and Chiquitos, they were doing a good job finding KOs. 4 KOs out of Misale, 4 KOs out of Ricapoyo, able to find those striker advantages. But as soon as Kihone kind of got this like insanely strong Atlas build, they could just defend until they get all 3 up. And then Vicblade and Swift DD were doing such a good job controlling the core inside of Chiquito's goal box. And Vicblade actually really good uses out of that Rasmus Death Touch, just catching out the clear from Shinx or using it just to pull Shinx out of the way so the core can get past. And I think just beautiful teamwork and coordination out of side of Clinkers, especially in that last set there.
100% agree. I mean, this has been a long-standing team for a while, and I don't even know when they started. I'm pretty sure they started before I even started. But at this rate, well, I think already we can see them making it very far in this first week. But I think that's all we have for this game so far. We'll be back for more. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
And hello, everybody. It is Too Soon, joined by the illustrious P Flare, bringing you our first final match uh, for this first week of OSAS Laggin' Laggers versus Chikara Fantasy. These two teams are fighting for a place in the open invitation, the qualifiers, right? P Flare, what do you think? What can we expect from these two teams?
Well, we all know what Chikara can kind of bring to the table in basically any configuration. At least that's my opinion about it. I recall Displacer in particular being a bit of a menace. But on the other hand, Lag and Laggers, I've seen like Chocobo Yao, Kara Steer, and Gilly, who I think all three are scary. But in this case, we have like Suplex, Snowing Halo. I'm not 100% sure, just gonna be frank with you. They, I honestly think they both have a solid chance. I'm not gonna joke. I am leaning more towards Chikara, but I do think they both have a decent shot at this.
Yeah, Laggin' Laggers actually, they've had a really strong run thus far, taking down Jakara Clinkers
Hmm.
round 3 of pools. And also, they made quick work of We Don't Have a Name, whose goalie is Tamu Maroon's goalie from CCL, one of the stronger teams. Made him basically fold on Autumn City. So I'm really interested how they are going to stand up to one of the more structured Omega Strikers institutions in Chikara. It is an aerials heavy impact start here, which it really both those awakenings are kind of used for very different styles of play. We'll have to see how they choose to spec into them for maybe more core control or mobility or just raw damage output.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the tell here. And turns out everybody just wants damage. Everybody just wants to beat everybody else down, which I can't blame. Although I will kind of admit I was vaguely expecting the Asher to take aerials just for more distance coverage, you know?
Yeah, but no distance needed as Suplex finds a quick first kill and both barriers falling down. It is Laggin' Laggers in complete control. Expanse holding on for now. Gilbertio, great strikes in the goal arc, but the Laggers, they still have control of the core. Power play refreshed once more. A snowball effect happening so quickly here. Snowing Halo, glitch pop, cyber swipe all the way downfield. I mean, the 70 Pirates, all of the Pirates in the trench coat, can't help, neither could that now, and that is Laggin' Laggers in complete control for that first point.
That was a very decisive first point and a very big statement made on the first go around. Gotta watch it. They've already said what their game plan is. We are just going to smoke you and score. So they are going to have to watch out Will Shikara. They are going to have to play this carefully, make a lot of good use of Atlas's ult, and hopefully can just like hold on. But right now, like you can see, like Snowing Halo, very good core control, hard to get past.
Yeah, good core control and a better interruption from Suplex hit stunning Gilbertio, and that's a clean shot from Jacoby Yao all the way top side, and Laggin' Laggers take their second point.
Yeah, this is already starting to look very impressive on the part of Lagging Laggers. So it's just a matter to see if Chikara can actually figure out what they want to do in order to try and like solve this immediate problem that's coming out in Halo in Suplex.
Yeah, they're doing a good job so far. One barrier down on the side of Laggin' Laggers, and they're keeping the core upfield, something they've struggled with. That's two flips that they'll have to deal with. Core drifting into empty space, a nice dart from Chocobo Yao, getting it away before it gets too hasty, and my goodness, so much damage onto Displacer Cat as the core just goes around the world. Supernova, a bunch of ults being committed here, trying to get this core in an advantage position, and there's a flip from Snowing Halo, crossing up Displacer Cat, and they are finally able to trade one barrier apiece.
Yeah, Snowing Halo had like a great like weight on that flip, kind of like got Gilberto to flinch a little bit, but they are already getting like punished for it in terms of stagger. They have to watch it. These teams have been swinging, and I really do think it's going to come down to kind of like a brawler-esque situation in that whoever gets the KOs is going to be able to kind of run away with things.
And it's knowing Halo looking worse for wear here, almost getting eliminated. Gilbertio holding in the face of suplex, and that core went red overtime. So scary to deal with, and Chikobu Yao did not have the resources for it. And Chikara, they're able to strike back and claim their first point.
Yeah, Chikara actually managed to play that very well. Snowing Halo was basically on death's door and kind of like hesitated. You notice, like, kind of like wasn't sure if going for that core would result in their death or what. So they kind of ended up letting it through.
One barrier down for each side here, but the core is upfield for Chikara. Nice cyber swipe from Snowing Halo and a better strike from Suplex. That's a flip in the face of Gilbertio. Not used. Cosmic Expanse was, though. That was a stray shot. Flipped, used to secure the goal there. Well played from Suplex, holding on, having faith in the teammates cover the angles that he couldn't. And that is Lag and Laggers taking the first set in a pretty convincing fashion.
Yeah, very much, and they're getting a lot of good stuff. I'm looking, honestly, at among Titans, quite possibly. Stagger Swagger, always very good. Maybe even someone starting getting like a Spark build.
Yeah, despite Chikara having both Now and Atlas on the team, they are still struggling with these power plays that Laggers is finding. Timeless Trader and Missile Prop getting picked up, though. Both really strong picks for the respective characters, and Stinger invested in by 70 Pirates, so trying to look to fight back here, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. That's easily what I'm looking at here right now. It is Lagging Laggers trying to keep their game plan going, which they clearly know what they're doing for said game plan, but Chikara needs to like find a way to survive it, which they kind of did. They do lose one barrier. So they want to kind of, like you said, fight back and try and get some KOs of their own.
Yeah, but Suplex looking so scary. Core upfield, though, for Chikara. They're able to take one barrier, keeping it in the corner, but Suplex! My goodness, he's been finding so many of these kills onto Displacer Cat, and both barriers quick to fall off this power play. Oni's Blade trying to buy some time, but Chocobo Yao in the midfield. The pressure keeps going, and a whip strike from Gilbertio. So much pressure in the face of Chikara. They just did not have the answers for it.
Nah, and you see like what they do after every score. They are in like lockstep, and that's kind of like been their game plan too. Suplex is always on someone, and Snowy Halo is always like right there to try and either like take control of the core as a result of Suplex's pressure, or just being able to like help clear the riffraff out, so to speak. And that's a very impressive teamwork on their part, and it's what's getting them all these goals. They know what they're doing with each other.
Yeah, but this is Chikara's time to strike here. Stone Halo looking low even though the barrier is open, but they're not able to find the pressure top side. Displacer Cat trying to hold on, and oh no! Gilbertio cleared it right to the Vice TP. Great placement from Chocobo Yao, punishing that careless mistake.
Very, very impressive. It was a bit of an obvious play, so Chocobo Yao was just, it was easy to read and just went like, thank you for the pass. Boom. Honestly, I have to say, Lagging Laggers has just been firing on all cylinders this match so far. Their teamwork has been on point, their passing has been solid, and their playmaking has been like near incredible.
All off the back of Suplex really finding these cheeky dash beams onto Displacer Cat. I mean, it's night market, right? You're going to be straying close to the edge just simply on how the map works. And if it's not Suplex just getting raw kills, the chip damage has been immaculate as well. But Chikara fighting back, as you say. 70 Pirates doing it all by himself, laid up by Gilbertio, finding 1 point for them in these trying times.
Yeah, they're going to need to do a lot more of that, but that is a good start with, I mean, Zentaro's always going to be aggressive, but that's not going to help. Getting the Displacer Cat has not really been allowed to like play the game half as much as they want to. I mean, like, Now is great in being able to kind of like dictate the terms of a battle and dictate the flow of things, but that's only if she lives, and they clearly recognize that.
Yeah, and Displacer Cat hasn't been able to live, and we haven't seen the full effects of that. Now Suplex using the speed gate, finding that second barrier here. Chikara trying to equalize. Oni's blade committed, and it is going to strike true. There's a flip as well, but the barrier beam, great defense from Suplex, stuffing that out. Little bit overzealous there is Laggers, but they're able to hold on and recover. There's a flip, nice expanse from Gilbertio. Both sides dancing with danger, but they're able to make it out unscathed for now. But a nice pass ending Chikara there for that second set. And it's Laggers going up 2-0.
Just very good coverage on the clears. That's what's been going on here. Just very good coverage from Laggers against like these Chikara fantasy clears, and they just haven't really had a very good time trying to like get the core out of their half of the field. Like when they do, it's such a moment that is always hard for them to take advantage of, and this isn't going to help them. I don't feel like you get wind drive, which is great, but fighter flight is always great. Siege machine, recovery drone is definitely going to be needed, but all of these are great. These are fantastic, but the offense coming out of Laggers is a bit much, and I'm wondering if it might be a little bit too late.
Yeah, and I mean, Adge Rush picked up, Spec Trading picked up. These are monster awakenings, especially with how Laggers have been playing thus far. Kind of good survival awakenings for Chikara, but I mean, one barrier down, make that two in quick succession. Not much hope for them as they finally get that core cleared. Oni's Blade by 70 Pirates, able to find one, gets two with a nice dash, and it's now G, who somebody in the chat said that they go by. That will make my life easier, thank you. Able to find a clear, nice pass from Displacer Cat to 70 Pirates, and that was Chikara finding some tempo, finding the swing of things here, able to strike first for once.
Yeah, that hasn't really been happening. Like, they've shown flashes of, you know, being able to get some scores in, but they haven't been able to get anything, like, consistent, consistent offense. If this might be the start of that, then, you know, so much the better. But they're going to have to turn it up and turn it on, like, now.
Yeah, and that core was in a good position to do it, but Snowing Halo with a great interception and sets up for that second barrier being taken. Oni's Blade being dribbled around, but 70 Pirates gets the core anyway. Pays for it with his life. That's Adge Rush plopped with the flip. Burns it though, almost finding two, and there it is. It's continuing. Suplex running over the team of Chikara 3. Dash barrier beams. Displacer Cat would have died there too. That is the power of an Adge Rush in the hands of a very capable player.
At this point, I don't know what you do against like this monster Asher being piloted by someone like who can read the moment as well as like Suplex seems to be. It's just kind of like all over and everywhere, and that might help. Like 70 Pirates has been doing very good in being able to try and like take advantage and pushing for these goals, but they've been kind of like flashes in the pan. That said, they are up 2-1, so if there's ever a time to rally, like I was saying, it's now.
Yeah, and if they start winning here, they'll have control over the future awakening picks. The one barrier down for Chikara, quick to equalize, though 70 Pirates has been doing great in the enemy goal box, but the core has not been getting there as much as Laggers has been getting him to the other side of the field. All three members playing defense now, pressuring continues. Nice dash, slice and dice, not able to connect, and that barrier will hold for now.
Yeah, like 70 Pirates, like you said, doing great in that, but there it is again. Suplex just removing Displacer off the field, and there goes the Pirates. Okie dokie. They do not want for this to go to another. They want this to end real fast. They're saying we ain't getting paid by the hour. Let's wrap this up.
I'm sorry. It was just so funny seeing a fully charged Supernova just smite. What was that? 70 Pirates or something off the map. Rallying back is Chikara. They're able to find one barrier here of Suplex with a nice flip and the pass. Able to equalize. Knowing Halo has a flip, uses it here, and they're able to find that second barrier. It's looking very grim for Chikara, but the core, it's still wandering. It's still being found by 70 Pirates. Slagging out is Chocobo. and it's a power play still. Nice cyber swipe, and it's a TP in the face of G. 3 members of Lagging Laggers coordinating their offense. No cooldowns to help them out, and that is a very dominant win for the Lagging Laggers, who will move on to the OSAS finale.
That was honestly, I don't want to call it clinical, but it was very, very, like you said, dominant, very, very organized. I will use that word, in that all team members of Lagging Laggers knew exactly what the game plan was. They executed it to pretty much perfection. Halo Suplex, or honestly, a singular unit almost in how they managed to coordinate and operate together, and it was just very incredible, very, very, very solid play.
Yeah, I mean, we have 9 kills on this Asher. Absolutely insane. 9 kills for 13 minutes of play. And it's not even like Chikara Fantasy was playing poorly. They were able to set up 70 Pirates very well sometimes. I mean, it was power play off of power play. So much damage with that Vice on the spec training. I mean, just chipping them away. They could never really get the tempo or the time to coordinate and attack on the barriers
No,
of
like
Lagging Laggers.
yeah, no, like Displacer Cat just was not allowed to play the game.
And not in the slightest, but that is it for this match. When we come back, it's going to be the other finale match, and that won't be long from now, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
See.
Hello, everybody, and we are back with another winners finals match for this first week of OSAS. We have for you Takara Clinkers versus Hooked on Goth Cats. Both these teams really strong, right? Takara Clinkers, now that Seraphim Crimson has retired, probably undisputably the best team to have never won OSAS. So really, beating Chikara Clinkers is like a victory in of itself. You can get that huge confidence boost, that stepping stone to, okay, I can actually graduate OSAS now.
Yeah, but we kind of know that car clinkers have kind of like this terminal issue of always the bridesmaids, never the brides. So they're definitely going to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder to, kind of wash that off of them. Meanwhile, though, Hooked on Goth Cats proving themselves in a very fast and furious, I am not going to go for a cat pun there, fight in their most recent struggle against, well, shrimping shrimpers. So, Cats got the shrimp that time, but they need to see if they can keep that momentum going here.
Yeah, definitely beating the Shrimpers twice, once in Swiss, once here, and we are headed back to Night Market. God forbid we get a very KO heavy game like last time. I will be so depressed. Pretty classic covers here on the side of Chikara Clinkers, Arizantaro Aimi, all standard stuff, a Mako ban coming out, and a Juno ban from the side of Hooked on Goth Cats. It is a Siege Machine and a 1-2 punch start, which bodes disaster, P-Flare, because 1-2 means more damage, which means more death. So we'll have to see how these teams navigate this.
Yeah, and the answer is, well, they seem to have gotten it on the people I expected it to. You got the Era, the Zentaro, all the people you expect with 1-2 punch, all the people you expect with Siege Machine. So we have to see if they can kind of survive this initial early onslaught that both Awakenings give them.
And it is Goth Cats with the quick start, but Clinkers answering back. 1-1 barrier taken for both sides, beating Kappa not able to connect with that dash your Kahone on the classic Era pick. Very comfortable on it, despite it being a bit unorthodox. A lot of pressure bot's side, but it's navigated a nice piercing shot from Imperfections, trying to set up some pressure here. But so far, both teams doing a great job of navigating these offensive pushes.
Yeah, they're both holding on, but that might be the breakaway that they need with Imperfections going down. And yeah, you can definitely see Clinkers pushing. That tornado comes out, they get that second one, easy in. They immediately saw the opening and they just swarmed on the goal. Very nice.
Very similar to last game. Tempo being won off that power play. Have to see if that is how the game turns out as we go on. When barrier down 4, Goth Cats feeding Kappa, trying to equalize, but whiffs on the barrier. Nice split from Swift Deity. Somehow gets through Lindis. They will take that any day of the week, and it's Big Blade walking up with the flip. Did he just walk up and flip?
Yes, he did. But yeah, again, honestly, just incredible realizing the moment. Like, got that wild cross-court shot. And I was going to say that I don't think that the Era pick is that horrible, just because I feel like in this particular situation with these two comps, that speed is going to come in invaluable, and it's going to allow them to make a lot more like plays, shots on goal, and just generally be a lot more aggressive than would be feasible otherwise. But that was a little bit of a misplay, just reacted a little bit too late there. So yeah, Era I don't think is a bad choice. Like you said, very comfortable on it, and I think it's going to come in very, very handy.
Off that power play here, Big Blade winning that one-on-one, but is feeding Kappa with the breakthrough here. Barriers open for both sides, and a beautiful ultimate from feeding Kappa. That is exactly what Goth Cats needed to get right back into this game.
Okay, maybe I cast a curse a little bit, but you know what? I'm going to stand by it. I believe. So we're going to have to see if that turns out to be a horrible thing or a great thing. I really do think that they are doing very well is Chikara Clinkers just with... I'm gonna stop talking now because I cast a curse again. Basically, I trust in that they will do well. How about let's leave it at that.
Yeah, once again, open barrier situation, Sentry Turret online, generating a lot of pressure, but is feeding Kappa, able to decipher it all, though he is staggered. Very dangerous situation, Core in the corner, nice barrier beam from Lindis, holding on for now, feeding Kappa, cutting the pass, is going to drop for it. It is Imperfections, top side, winning this one-on-one with Kahone, buying some time, but the pass downside is good. Nice slice and dice into the dash, and Imperfections almost had the clear. But it was a beautiful interception from Swift Deity covering the outs, and Clinkers take the first set.
Yeah, just a very nice cyber swipe to kind of interrupt that. And yeah, they do get rewarded. I'm looking at explosive entrance stacks. Honestly, maybe a spark of agility even, just to stack on that speed.
Yeah, also Primetime Kazan up for grabs here. Opts for the size instead, which is very potent as well. This is still having some solid choices here. Opts for the Spark scaling. Honestly, both these teams not too dissatisfied with their drafts, but I do think that Clinkers got the better of it because that Zentaro with one dash awakening just becomes so much more potent, and Vicblade has been doing God's work with him thus far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would also say Clinkers got the better of it, but it seems like the cats are saying we don't care. Beautiful, just beautiful double barrier. Although feeding Kappa might be paying for it with a life, so keep an eye out. Be careful.
Yeah, but there's that recovery drone proc, so it's not a power play quite just yet for Clinkers, as both teams are fighting for possession of the core midfield here. Upfield, though, is Goth Cats. They're holding on to this core a little bit longer. Flip from Swift Deity being held now. They're trying to generate some pressure. There's a flip to do so, but it doesn't quite go on an angle that's very favorable. Sentry Turret, though, putting all the options, and a nice dash as well. That's a lot of pressure to deal with if you're the Goth Cats.
Yeah, no, I mean, just very good with these like cornered up maps. Just very good at just basically like shutting off an entire area, an entire range of like clear angles. It's just with that ultimate, it's just very, very scary. And yikes.
Yeah, Vicblade caught between a rock and a hard place, but feeding Kappa looking worse for wear as well. Kahone with a flip to buy some time, and feeding Kappa is denied that orb. Imperfections looking low as well. Damage, definitely the story of the game thus far. Nice evade. They're able to hold on to their lives for now, and a nice topspin, finding a cheeky kill here, but the core is still in a disadvantageous position. Vicblade holding on and gets the disgusting demon angle off that central mound. Well played from Clinkers. They're not letting their foot off the gas.
That was basically a 90-degree angle, and they just didn't get to it. That was crazy. But that's also Night Market for you.
Yeah, very unpredictable, this Night Market map, as we just see a McDouble coming through for Goth Cats. They need this, and they need to strike now, but the core in the corner. Pass splitter, though, to diffuse all the pressure, but Vicblade does have a flip. We'll have to see if he uses to commit it here. Oni's blade not finding anything. Stagger now is Vicblade. Uses it to secure the kill and staggers Asher in the process here. Lindis not very happy with her personal situation right now. The core is still migrating onto that side, and there is the kill confirmed. It's feeding Kappa all alone as Imperfections comes back online. Goth Cat's doing a great job holding down a man consistently, and Lindis back online here. They have a breakaway. They're not able to find anything though. Maelstrom coming through, and that was a great defensive showing from Goth Cats, but a little bit too much to handle as that second barrier drops.
Yeah, but that interception, that denial of that pass clear by Lindis and by Kappa was excellent, getting them on the board, a much needed point.
Much needed indeed. We'll have to see if they can keep this momentum going. Shrink Gray coming through. Just, they're not able to hold on to that core. They're small and they're slow. But able to get it cleared is Lindis. And there's one barrier traded for these sides. Nice glitch pop trying to get this clear. The Maelstrom will help with that as well. It's Lindis pushing up in the midfield because Cap is taking a beating. Able to cover that barrier though. Nice attempt from Vicblade. 2 flips to work with shortly here. Vicblade gets his. There's a sentry turret. Oni's blade. That's way too much to deal millimeters from the goal line. It's an open barrier situation for Chikara. Clinkers, core drifting, pass splitter committed, and they're trying to attack this top side. Nice crooked leverage. Kappa gets the best of Kahone. There's a flip committed, but the top spin. Bit of miscommunication there. And both these teams are trying to find an opening, try and find some coordinated pressure, and that piercing shot KO is what they're going to need. Oni's blade to intercept the pass. Vicblade doing great job on the defense, running the interception. But unfortunately, that core finally migrated into an unclearable angle, and that top spin sealed the deal.
Like, beautiful on Kappa to just not give up on that play. I had a couple of times there where it was a bit, like you said, a bit of a miscommunication. Both of them were trying to go for either like a clear or a pass, and it didn't quite shake out, but beautiful recovery. Just like those 2 beautiful quick barriers, and suddenly it is Goth Cats that are looking dangerous, though Feeding Kappa is looking a little bit low. It has to be a bit wary.
Yeah, a bit wary. All 3 members doing great defense. Gothcats had some opportunity to score, not able to find them though, but the core is still there. Piercing shot almost, and there's a KO found. Rose Thorns not enough, and finally the core goes to the other side of the field. Flips traded, and they're able to hold on to both the barriers. Gothcats as Feeding Kappa comes back online. It doesn't even matter. Core wanders and Kahone out of position. Out of nowhere, the momentum just shifted completely to Gothcats.
Yeah, it was a bit hard to find their rhythm, it seems like, and find a way to like outplay this damage-heavy comp that Chikara Clinker seems to be rolling, but they might have found something here. Although that adrenaline rush is not going to make it easy.
Now, Feeding Kappa is wise to pick up the Spark of Resilience, has been struggling with all this chip damage, as, I mean, Chikara Clinkers spec even more into trying to find these kills with the Deadeye, with the ad rush. So it's really interesting to see how Gothcats are going to try and hold on here because the damage is not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, like, I can definitely see that they want to kind of accomplish a little bit more. I feel like they want to try and, like, get the transitions done a little bit more, get these barriers down just a little bit quicker. I think that might be what they're going for, with Lindis going for, like, the additional power and speed with the Super Surge. But we need to see if that's going to work out for them, because like you said, that power is not going anywhere, and they're going to just keep swinging at them, especially with this ad rush, especially with this Deadeye. It's gonna get even more bloody out there.
More bloody indeed, as Imperfections is staggered, but both barriers gone. Forward Clinkers, it's Feeding Kappa with the core crooked leverage, not able to find its mark. Nice clears from Kahone. A lot of speed generated from among Titans, and the barriers are traded with Vicblade. Interference being run by Feeding Kappa here, diffusing the flip, topspin a little bit, grief, and that's the slice and dice, setting up Vicblade.
That topspin was going towards their own goal, it looked like, but either way, it was just a rough situation for the Cats to try and like get out, just like a lot of offense, but a beautiful response from Kappa. Quick 2 barriers again. They just need to finish.
Yeah, but they got 2 quick barriers last point, and they weren't able to convert it in the end. Maelstrom takes down Lindis. It's a power play once more. Sentry Turret cutting the field in half, and they're able to find 2 barriers. Both members of the Cats looking very low, and Feeding Kappa just uses the flip out of desperation, trying to find something here. All 3 members playing defense. It's Kappa with the breakaway, but not for long, though. Still able to hold on to that core and forces the flip from Kahone. Some compensation in these trying times as the core, it's a Soren ankle. Kahone just enough as Imperfections get staggered. Some chaos out in the middle of Night Market Field.
And I don't know how Imperfections did not die from that, but they did not die, and that's all that matters. They are still here and can still contribute to this play, which has been going back and forth. Feeding Kappa has been trying every trick in the book to get past Kid, and just it's not happening.
Well, the topspin somehow doesn't work either. Disaster for Goth Cats as the core goes red into their territory. Nice barrier beam, and Kahone almost letting that one slip through. There's the maddening descent, and finally, with the coordinated dashes from the descent and the rose warp, Goth Cats are able to secure this point.
That was a hard fought one. And they're just gonna have to keep that up. They're gonna have to keep pushing, because one of the things that has been difficult for them this whole game is to being able to take advantage of like these early barriers. They've been able to get the barriers, sure, and that will help immensely. A nice kill, very much needed, but they're going to need to finish. They've been having trouble finishing and actually getting these points after they get these barriers.
Yeah, but still, they'll take the progress when they can get them past Splitter offensively to keep that pressure going, burning so many cooldowns there, and Lindis is walking up with the flip barrier beam to stuff it out, and that is a goalie in the enemy goal box. Lindis getting it done for the Goth Cats.
That was bold as hell, and I respect it, because they needed that point, and they were like, no, we cannot let up on this at all. Lindis, she knew the assignment and just went for it, and paid off.
Even though this Asher character is in the goalie position, the stuffing power still remains, and another kill has been found on a Swift Deity. It seems the KOs have shifted completely. Once from Clinkers, now it's Goth Cats finding all of them. All that pressure feeding Kappa. He's so fast, and a beautiful dash mixing up Kahone.
They have gotten bold, have these cats, and that might have been the play to just turn up the aggression to 11 and just all in, full out, and hopefully this will help them. You got like heavy impact. Please don't let Zentaro get that heavy impact. He's gonna get the impact.
Well, I mean, he's spec'd a little more into survivability, and in fact, I don't disagree with the Stagger Swagger getting picked up by Vicblade here, but what I'm really looking out for is this Monumentalist era with how tight these lanes are on a night market. That NATO is going to be large enough to completely shut down an area, might lead to some kills, might just be the sort of jank, the sort of cheese that Clinkers needs to get back into this game.
Yeah, look at the size of that tornado. They do lose one barrier, but a few more tornadoes and they will be a particular threat. But right now they've got to defend the goal. Cats have found something. Cats have found a spark, maybe not in drafts, but in spirit, and sometimes that's all you need.
All you need, indeed. It's an open barrier situation for them, but to man down. Imperfections caught a bot side against Vicblade. Prox's address, they're able to get one barrier, but can't find the other. Never mind, I lied. Sentry turret and that dash will do so. There's that maelstrom. It's so large, and a nice flip from Kahone. Imperfections trying to get something cheeky going. There's two flips to work with. 4 Clinkers, both of them used, but they get the goal in the end, and that's all that matters, really.
Yep, just beautiful flip, and they were like, do you have the timing? Do you have the timing? Do you have the timing? Oop, no you don't.
Exactly, and you really need that timing if you don't have an ability to do it for you. And it's Imperfections on death's door already. Has to evade the Maelstrom, and Vicblade out for blood. They're able to hold on to their life, but not to one barrier. Lindis doing God's work in the goal box, trying to set up something for Kappa, because the middleman of the communication link, Imperfections, has been battered and bruised.
Not just them, they got KO'd, and then Lindis was not feeling too good either, and Vicblade took very clear advantage of that, swooped in, and got the goal, and suddenly 2 up for our Clinkers. Like just very good aggression on their part too, to respond to what was initially seeming to be like a Cat's turnaround.
Yeah, and I think it's all off the back of just getting Imperfections out of the equation entirely, as the Maelstrom gets rid of the goalie instead. flips being used, and they're able to hold on to one barrier, but the power play rages forth. Kahone has a flip, pushing up to the mid line. It's beating Kappa, though, able to intercept the cores and buy some time. Disaster averted for the Goth Cats, and they're able to sneak another barrier by. Kahone too late on the flip. Maelstrom, though, almost taking Kappa's life, procking that drone. A lot of chaos on the field here, but it is Clinkers getting the better end of it.
Yeah, for a brief period of time, you can see like Imperfections looking low, and right now Vic is hunting right for that kill. Oni's blade gets it. Kappa, though, on the other side, Kappa been trying to play hero, and I guess we can call him a hero. Very, very nice commitment on that play. Very nice push for that goal.
Yeah, Kappa the hero that Goth Cats needs. When Imperfections is down, he's the one cutting the passes, putting himself in the middle of everything, and a nice crooked leverage secures one barrier, and the Sentry Turret not able to help save the other one. Both barriers down in quick succession. Kahone holding on very fast thanks to the Flutterfly, but the core is cleared and one barrier's taken. Oni's blade into the flip, denied by Lindis. All three members playing defense here as Goth Cats trying to activate this offense once more.
Yeah, you can see that something may have gone wrong. Imperfections, a little bit of a connection issue for a brief period, but they seem to have come back. We still rolling. So they're getting a flip. They're trying to make the most of this, and that is definitely going to help. Nice topspin for the kill, and now's the time they're trying to collapse on the goal. It's gonna be kind of like a now or never situation, because Clinkers have been, very nice shake and bake. Clinkers have been doing some real aggressive movements. They've been making things real hard for the Cats. So being able to get that goal through, even despite the troubles, yeah, they are going to need more of that very fast.
Yeah, I want to glaze the communication of Goth Cats for that point real quick. First it was Lindis waiting out Vicblade, and then a nice pass from Imperfections into the mix-up from Kappa. That was well played from them, but it's Clinkers roaring back here, taking two barriers, Sentry Turret, Maelstrom, and the flip! It's disastrous! It's a calamity! Both players down! Recovery drone, the only reason why Kappa's alive! Can we get an A? Just about almost, but that core does go in, and Clinkers with a second win out of nowhere, taking us to a banger set 5.
Very nice, and I'm looking at Might of the Colossus, maybe extra special, just get more tornadoes.
More size, always a good thing. But Kahone opting to spec into more cooldowns, and this Zentaro's damage build looking quite nutty here. But a lot of good picks here for the bottom two. Extra special being taken, good pick, and a better deny from this Jaime, who opts for the Twin Drive instead. So really, all these characters actually got something good for them. Maybe the Solo Spark, the worst one there, but you have to remember that Imperfections had the option to scale into that as well. So, I mean, this is about as balanced a draft as you can hope for.
Yeah, I was about to say both sides got essentially what they wanted, but right now it is Lindis looking like they could have used a little bit more stagger because they low. And Vicblade is hunting. Vicblade is waiting for it.
And Vicblade finds it. Nice flip from Kahone to defuse that pressure, setting up an ad rush propped Vicblade, Swift Deity, and Vicblade swarming Imperfections there in the goal box. Beautiful play there, and the target has shifted for Vicblade. First it was the midfield, now it's the goalie. As long as they're getting some man down, because it's not Kappa with that recovery drone, I think that's their win con here. That's what they're trying to search for.
Yeah, although it definitely seems like Vicblade is not opposed to just swinging at who they can, considering Imperfections is almost down as well. So right now, it just seems like Vicblade is hunting whoever is in his sights. And frankly, with that kind of damage output, I don't blame them.
Definitely. But the core is navigating back to Goth Cat's territory. Swift Deity opting for a clear top side. Intercepted by the Rose Warp, and that sets up beautiful play for the Goth Cats. Open barriers for both sides. Sentry turret, though, to create some pressure. Denied by that path splitter. Maelstrom goes a little bit wide here. Never mind, hits its mark. Onto Imperfections, forcing a flip. It's another power play for the Clinkers. Are holding on for now, but Kahone shoots one top side. Lindis aware of it, though, and it's Kappa looking worse for wear, but he's pushing up, and he intercepts the pass, equalizing 1-1.
Beautiful play, beautiful recognizing what the pass was going to be and just diving in and saying, no, sir, that's going in, and you're a little bit too far out of position to make sure that that actually is stopped. Very nice heads-up play for the Cats. They are keeping this close. The only problem I'm curious about is, I was about to say keeping Lindis alive, but hey, getting rid of one of the playmakers is definitely a way to solve that problem.
Yeah, they're able to get 2 barriers to boot. Even though they get less power plays, they are more deadly on average than Chikara Clinkers. That is set point, game point for the Goth Cats.
That's honestly incredible. It's felt like this whole game they were kind of fighting from underneath. I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I felt like the whole game, yeah, the Cats were fighting from underneath, but they are on the verge of taking it. And honestly, through no small part in Kappa's efforts.
Yeah, Kappa, I mean, the hero, but that Rose Warp caught Kahone by surprise. Imperfections, when he's alive, his presence is felt. And it is open barrier for Clinkers. They had all the momentum early, but the Goth Cats, they have rallied. They have found something. 2 flips to work with almost. Kahone forced to use his. Core goes round the world, and it's setting up Kappa perfectly, who flips in the golden position. And the members of Clinkers not able to stop it in time. And that is the Goth Cats taking this game and moving on to the OSAS finale.
That wasn't even just like stopping it in time. Kappa flipped and basically told them, okay, guess the game. And both team members guessed wrong. They missed the timing on the attempted blocks, and it went in. Just like a beautifully patient play by Kappa to kind of like wrap things up. Just caused them to flinch, and that was that.
Yeah, and I almost want to say that all these power plays not being fully capitalized on was the downfall of Chikara Clinkers, because Kappa just kept on getting breakaways, and Kazan is like the worst character to be in a one-on-one against, especially if you're playing an era who doesn't really have the resources to shut down a brawler like him. I mean, it was really just star power from Kappa, supported by Imperfections and Asher, who were able to hold on long enough on the defense, navigate all the damage that Clinkers was throwing out on them. Because, I mean, that's Zentaro. 58,000 damage, 11 KOs is diabolical.
Like they were fierce, and they were just a constant presence. Vic Blade, Swift Deity, not even like just very, very good as well. Like on the support, very nice. I believe like the redirects, just making sure they were always in the plays. Clinkers did not play. Did by no means play badly, but once again, still Clinkers, bridesmaids, still not the brides.
Yeah, but they still have a chance to qualify. When we come back, the 3rd place tiebreak for the last position qualifying this first week will be streamed, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
See you soon.
And we're back with the third place tiebreak. It's a Chikara showdown between Fantasy and Clinkers vying for the final qualification spot in the finale. And we are headed to Aten City, P Flare. How exciting!
Exciting is a word for it, but no, seriously. It will be, I would say, interesting simply because of how these two teams tend to operate. So, whatever they ended up picking, like that's going to kind of very, very, very much dictate how this is going to look, if not play.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in comparison to Night Market, where it's hard fought battles in the corners, trying to just stuff the core through, maybe find kills every now and again. Auden City is a map where you capitalize off of one mistake and you just sort of go for it. With how big the barrier is, there's little room for error. And as we see the awakenings and the pick spans, it's a spark and a reverb start as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if most went for the spark. But yeah, honestly, like you said, this map is very much one, in my opinion, that rewards aggressive play, like more than even like several others. It's one that you just kind of like. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of like YOLO. It's kind of a YOLO map, to use that old term.
Right, exactly. It's hard to predict what will ever go on Aten City, except that the points will be short off of one error kickoff start, and it's a beautiful push by Vic Blade, but unfortunately, it's denied by G. A melee goalie on this map can work well if you're able to hold on to these corners. I mean, both barriers down in quick succession. It's an Aten City classic.
Yeah, no, don't expect to see those barriers for very long, folks. They are not going to last, to put it bluntly. I do kind of like respect Kine for going for the Drakkar, just because that's a little bit extra range that allows for like some preemptive clearing possibilities, especially if they manage to get range. And in that case, that was just Vic Blade being able to like push through and Gilberto not being able to respond fast enough. That's just going to be something else you got to watch for too. It's just you can be easily out of position in this map.
Yeah, and that rings true for Swift Deity, who gets killed by straying too close to the edge, but Fantasy not able to really rally an effort here. Vic Blade running great interference, and that power play wasn't really felt, but that flip being denied was Kihone tries to set up a Soren as well. It went from bad to worse in an instant for the Clinkers.
So that's just like a very quick tight game. I would not be surprised if this went basically the distance, if this went Broadway, so to speak. But yeah, for this kind of like just open, just about anything goes map, these are probably going to be some very fast points.
Yeah, nice whiplash from Rasmus, able to take out that barrier. Better hook trying to displace Vic Blade. Not quite working though. Both barriers traded. Flips burned as well. Very equal game state here. Blobs coming through. And a nice crooked leverage from Vic Blade, sending it topside, mixing up G.
Just like a very good kind of like 1-2 from, I believe that was the Slime. And just like you said, hooked it up to the top. Just almost nothing you can do about that. This goal is just like, it's too big. It's too empty. So you got to just watch yourself and hope that that core is going to be somewhere in your vicinity. Or that could happen.
Very much so. Sentry turret offering so much protection, but Kihone actually almost saved that barrier, right? It was Displacer Cat able to intercept it with the hook, redirect that angle, and then all of a sudden with that turret, so much pressure, whiplash in the corner, Kihone not able to deal with that, and it is Fantasy striking first and getting the barrier.
Yeah, Fantasy looking to like end this one real quick, trying to get the core in a position they can do like maybe a quick like 1-2, but they lost the barrier. They lost the barrier, and now it is kind of like even on both sides yet again. We are in Aten City.
And Energy Econ looking very equal as well, right before Vic Blade used his and a nice death touch from Displacer Cat, sneaking that core right on by Kahone and Swift Deity.
All right, let's see what these what these awakenings look like, and see if anything can kind of allow Clinkers to shake back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at size on Zon. Rapid fire, if not denied, is going to be critically good on Kahone. And able to take it. The rest of these picks probably standard between Stacks and Timeless between the two. Rather balanced draft, except for the fact that Social Fox picks up that spark, gets 2, and might be able to get a mayor going on here.
Yeah, like kind of a little bit surprised, but honestly not that surprised. Just good fortune for them. So it's going to see how that shakes out. I do also appreciate like the super surge. I've seen some Junos go for the stinger actually, but I just like seeing Juno being able to, you know, like leap halfway across the map, kind of like that. So honestly, I think that kind of coverage is needed for here. So this will be I think mostly an even draft.
Yeah, both sides able to generate a lot of pressure just off the core, wandering around. Kahone with a beautiful molten shot there, keeping the core upfield. It's navigated well, though. There's a flip on Social Fox. Option just sending it into the corner. A nice shot from Kahone. Denies that core flip. Now it is Displacer Cat with the core, forcing a flip from Kahone, and they're able to hold on for now as G gets their flip online, and we're seeing a lot of trades happening with the energy resource, but G not able to use his in time to save that goal, and it's Clinkers striking first.
Yeah, Big Blade and DD just doing a very good job of passing and keeping the core up, and just kind of like eventually getting those cooldowns forced out, and just being able to like find a position and a spot to like for Vic Blade to just flip and make the goal happen.
Yeah, a little bit slow on the glitch pop. That was an opportunity to score, but it's Fantasy in the driver's seat for now with Flash coming through. This Rasmus, one of the only good brawlers, and a hit stun off the pendulum swing, sneaks it by Kahone, and Fantasy quick to equalize.
Yeah, that was kind of like Rasmus 101, really. Just get the core going and whip, stun them, boom, there's your goal. So very good to just get that rocking and rolling. But Kione doing a lot of good stuff with those shots, although you can only do so much. It's Atten. So hey.
Yep, but I mean, we're seeing the power of this Drakkar goalie. Kahone really navigating these off-meta goalie picks quite nicely, especially in Auden City. So open. We're seeing the strength of the shotgun. A nice hold into the sentry turret, but a better glitch pop, trying to set it up once more into the corner. The core goes. Flip not used. Trying to redirect it. Used for the kill, though. Procs the recovery drone. For even though it's Auden City, we have been seeing our fair share of kills. Fantasy still having the core, still putting it in the corner, trying to generate some pressure. And really, even though they're finding the clears, Chikara Clinkers can't get anything started off of them. It's just returning back to sender. Fantasy doing a great job just piling on the pressure.
Yeah, there's just like a lot more like they're oddly enough, they're slightly smaller range considering, you know, you've got Juno Slimes, you've got that shotgun that allow them to reach out like near midfield, that allows them for like these, like I said, like these advantageous clears. But being able to like be close in with the core and engage in these strike wars and win these strike wars is what's getting Fantasy like these goals.
Exactly. They're just holding on to the core all the time. Every single clear just goes into dead space, and G is able to send it back up. But that was just beautiful coordination between Displacer Cat and Social Fox, mixing up Kahone, and Fantasy take another set.
Yeah, that was just good gameplay. That was just knowing your teammate and recognizing the moment and being able to execute the play. Like just good play and getting very rewarded for that. I can see like Stagger Swagger, possibly Ad Rush, always good. Explosive, they took Explosive, not surprised at all.
Yeah, and we're specking into really size and speed, just trying to make your presence felt a little bit more on a map that's so wide, so open. Core speed being taken by this Juno. That'll help Chikara Clinkers set themselves up better for offensive pressure because they've been on the back foot this entire game.
Yeah, it seems honestly like both teams have kind of doubled down on their original, like their general game plans. Like I was saying earlier, Clinkers are going for kind of like long-range clear, long-range capabilities. Meanwhile, you have Fantasy going for a lot more like close-range, body-to-body kind of stuff. And it definitely seems like they are just trying to push those win conditions. So it's on to who can execute better. And right now, it's looking like Fantasy. So
they do have the core in the position they want it to be. Social Fox with the flip takes it bot side. Nice glitch pop, keeping it forward as well. And unfortunately, that goal is saved for them. Kahone has a flip. All three members close to theirs actually for Clinkers, but the core is still downfield. They can't ever get it through. And G has been doing a great job on the defense as well. I mean, the core is just bouncing bot side, top side, always on the side of Clinkers. And at that point, it's just a matter of time before a lapse in judgment or a mental error costs them a point.
yeah, like no disrespect to Kene. Kene been doing amazing, but that's just been the problem this whole match, that you can only last so long. Like, even the best falter, and they just haven't been able to, like you said, get these clears and make these points happen. Like, this is a good opportunity, though. Flip tried to go for it, pushes it through with a top spin. Very nice, very quick. Let's see some more of that. Clinkers, because they're definitely going to need to make these points happen a lot faster and disallow a lot of this, like this energy build, a lot of these ultimates that cut off so many parts of the map, and in general just allow Fantasy to push up as hard as they have been. Golly.
I mean, Displacer Cat answering back, peak form. I mean, these types of points can only happen on Aten City. It's disheartening, really. If you're Chikara Clinkers, you had a beautiful play, and then in 7 seconds, you're already down 1 goal. Now you're down a barrier 4 match point. Nice hook, Death's Touch, Pendulum Swing, not able to connect though, but still they're setting it up nicely. Gilbert Tito working the midfield, able to work the defense as well, winning these strike wars. Not Chikara Clinkers, they're not able to coordinate, and there's the flip to seal the deal. From Fantasy, from Social Fox, it is game over for Clinkers, and they'll have to try again next week. A nice showing from Chikara Fantasy.
Yes, very incredible. Like, took control of the game early, did not let go. Very, very, very nice, like, passing plays, and just being able to keep the core up and just refuse to let it get off of the opponent's half of the field.
Yeah, every single time they found it clear, there was an Atlas ready to intercept it. If not him, then a glitch pop from Social Fox. I mean, there's just way too much to deal with, and Jakar, not necessarily the goalie that's best equipped to deal with continuous pressure. I imagine they picked it probably thinking the game would go a little bit differently than it did. But regardless, it was Chikara Fantasy outmaneuvering Chikara Clinkers and earning them a well-deserved victory.
Yeah, so like you said, they're going to have to try again next week, and things have, I believe, wrapped up for tonight, or am I tripping?
No, that is everything that we have for y'all. Any final thoughts, B-Flair?
Just very impressive. Honestly, very impressive showings by both winners tonight in remarkably different ways, because you had Cats who kept things close and basically showed their grit and showed their never say die attitude, and they just kept slugging it out and fighting and taking all these punches, and they just managed to outlast at the end of the day and push through, and that's great. That's incredible mental, incredible fortitude. Meanwhile, you have Fantasy that just like I said earlier, grabbed control of the match just with incredible passing, incredible defense, and just did not let go for a second, and it just overwhelmed their opponents. So, honestly, great showings from both teams in different ways, and it's showing how Omega Strikers can be played and won in a variety of manners.
Yeah, all styles of play. Welcome in Omega Strikers, especially in OSAS, where we see these rookies find their footing, make names for themselves. But that is everything we have for you for this first week of OSAS, and we will be back next Thursday with more delightful content. So see you then.
Peace out.